BodyBags, where horror lies.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to BodyBags. It's week 184, and I'm your Sunday host, Bourgie86 here again. Yes, guys, as always, it's a Sunday review. Now, the film I got to choose for you guys to review today is a film from 1992. Yes, I haven't reviewed a lot of 90s films, period, per se. And this is one that actually was a first-time watch for me. I actually did pick this up last month, and I decided why not give it a chance and review it. And that is The Johnsons. Yes. As you can see, this is an old-school Anchor Bay release of this film. This film is actually from the Netherlands. It's a Dutch film, which I found interesting because I don't really watch a lot of Dutch horror films. Of the ones I know of, this is one of them that I heard about for the longest time. And it sounded interesting enough to actually pick up a copy and review it. Now, the main plot of this one, we're introduced to our main setup of characters. They're in different parts of Holland, the Holland area. First off, we meet our young photojournalist Victoria, who has a young teenage daughter, Emily. And Victoria actually gets this assignment to go check out this marsh area to try to get this photos for this National Geographic special that she was hired to do. And once this is happening, Victoria ends up starting to have these vivid, violent nightmares that involve these 7 young boys that are spraying the walls with blood and making images with the blood. And Victoria decides to take Emily with her to these marshlands to get away from the city and keep an eye on her pretty much. And while this is going on, we're introduced to our other main character of Richard, who's this professor who, unbeknownst, is discovered and is hired to look into this weird phenomena of these 7 mental patients that we find out are brothers. And his investigation and his research implies is that this is 7 brothers are based off this myth of this ancient Amazonian god known as Xanadix, who we find out is this this myth is involving that these boys are actually Xanadix's sons, and they will bring the end of the world. And these main characters of Victoria and Emily and Richard end up, their stories intertwine, and they are connected in some way, involving these 7 men. And unbeknownst, hell breaks loose, and it's up to Richard, Victoria, and Emily to stop this foreboding of the end of the world from happening. That is pretty much the main plot of this one. We're going too fucking crazy into it. I know it's kind of a complex story, but because it's kind of a weird way to tell this film, because there are sub characters for each of our main characters, and they don't actually intertwine and act in the film that much, even though they do have scenes together, mostly in the climax. That's the way it was involving with their stories. Now, the other thoughts of this film, I did really enjoy that way that it was complex with the different characters, that you didn't have all your main characters together in different same setting type deal. Some of them were split up with the other one, and they told revolving stories and involving other sub characters that are involved with them. With Victoria and Emily, the main other sub character with their stories is the psychiatrist that comes to visit Emily because of these nightmares, and her young friend Peter, who ends up becoming involved in the other part of the story also, which I thought was really good and great with that part. And I really like the dynamics of Richard and his father, who we find out knows a lot about this ancient god, because he's from the bush area of the Amazonians, which I found really fucking bizarre and weird, this weird sub level of this voodoo and witchcraft that went into the supernatural aspect of this film. Now, the main title of this film, The Johnsons, involves is the 7 individuals of these 7 psychopaths that we end up finding out in the film. And they're very creepy looking. I gotta say, like their walks and movements in certain scenes is very like zombie-esque. It has like that weird like Lucio Fulci zombie mode, because there's one scene in particular where it's like a very foggy marsh area, and Emily and Victoria are running away from these men, and it's very like Lucio Fulci based with its atmosphere and the dark setting. And I really did enjoy that about the film. This film does have like a lot of great atmosphere with like extreme sequences that are very well shot, and the weird bizarreness of like the story about like what involves around like the legend and stuff. I'll not give that part away for you, but really fucking bizarre film that I really did dig. I really did dig like all the characters in this and how the setup of like what goes on with this god, which I forgot to mention. That's actually the god on the cover. Is like it's in this involvement of like this embryo state, and it usually flies in like this diamond like shaped prison, pretty much. And it's very atmospheric and scary looking because it has like this bulging blue eyes that stare at you in the film. And he's not in the film all of the film, but he's like in certain scenes and he keeps popping back up type deal. But he has like the presence throughout the film because his name is said numerous times in the film, and so he's always like a lingering presence in the film, even though he's not really in the film that much. But I really do like that aspect of it. Very interesting like subplots that were kind of weirded out to me though. And this film is like while this is going on, they like garbage men were having strike, so it involves like lots of like shit and garbage all around like the city, like giant piles of garbage everywhere. And like one scene where Rich is just looking outside of his window and he's like, ugh, like it was fucking hilarious. But yeah, this film has like a very odd humor to it, especially with that aspect of it. But yeah, I did enjoy this film for what it was. It was nothing that I was actually high blown expecting from it, and I was very surprised because it does have like a lot of like good like gore scenes like near the end of the film though, and it does have like a very supernatural psychological aspect from the beginning of the film. So if you like your like love letters, so like Lucio Fulci, like atmosphere wise, this film has like some great like aspects of Fulci's like atmosphere that I really did enjoy, and just the bizarreness of the story. Really cool stuff. I highly recommend the Johnsons. If I had to rate, I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. Fun ride. Unfortunately, I know like a lot of like old school Anchor Bay titles are out of print, so you can still kind of get this one. It was kind of a little more than I wanted to pay for like a new copy of a DVD, but I understand it because it's kind of like out of print. So it was, you can still find it available for like decent prices, not like too overly high. I didn't pay too much for this. I think I paid like 18, which isn't bad for like an out of print title like one of these anyways. Hopefully one day it does get a re-release here, which would be awesome because I did highly enjoy this film. So yeah, the Johnsons, 8 out of 10. Alright guys, that's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, I'll be back next week with another one. I'll see you then. Peace out.